Reddit. What's the most ultimate petty revenge you've seen, or been a part of? Crossing at a busy downtown intersection. A very impatient driver waiting to make a turn honked at a lady pushing a stroller. She had the right of way. I slowed down. But the guy next to me straight up stopped in front of the car. Then bent down to tie his shoelaces. My dad had an old truck parked on the back of our property that some kept stealing small parts from. Cap, rotor, points, etc. We wired it to an electric fence power supply. One evening we heard a bunch of yelling and swearing, and went back there, and the guy left us some free tools. My mom and dad. This happened when I was in my late 20s. My mom and I were in the car. My dad called, and they started bickering with each other. My mom got irritated, and hung up on him. He called her right back. And when she answered he hung up on her. Didn't even say a word, just waited for her to pick, and hung up. It was so petty and hilarious to see my parents acting like children. I couldn't stop laughing. They've been married over 35 years. I still get tickled when I think about that. I saw an ad for a work from home type job. It didn't sound scammy, and sounded sort of legit. So I asked for more info from the website. Enter your email thing. It was crap. And was sending me spam several times a day. For whatever reason blocking it didn't work. I got annoyed one day and answered back. Stop spamming me. The guy actually answered. He actually monitors that address. He told me to unsubscribe. Which did nothing. After about another week of it, I came up with an idea. I took his email address he answered from, and added it to his own list. Then signed it up for any other spam I could find. A few days later it stopped spamming me. Sharing a holiday home with some friends and their 10-year-old son started to be a pain. Not helping around the house, and crying if he didn't get his way. His parents decided to just let him sit and watch YouTube on his iPad instead of disciplining him. So I logged into the internet router and would use admin privileges to suspend his device from accessing the internet. As soon as he got up to ask his dad for help, I would reactivate the device, so it seemed as if nothing was wrong. I did this every day for 2 weeks. I mailed my crafty ex best friend an envelope double stuffed with glitter and a note saying, "I know what you did." I wasn't referring to anything in particular, but she lies about practically everything, so it was enough to mess with her for a while. Me and a few workmates were at an Italian restaurant for a leaving party. When I had to go toilet, came back and carried on eating my pizza. Turns out one of my colleagues poured the chili oil all over my pizza, and that crap set my mouth on fire. Plus I'm not a big fan of heat anyways. So I basically had to write off a slice of pizza. Anyways, the guy that did it found it hilarious. And since he covered his food in the same oil, I figured he'd have oily fingers from the bottle. "Yeah, I've got something in the corner of your eye, Callum." His left eye went completely red and didn't stop watering for about 15 minutes. Being the youngest brother, I would only get me downs. My older brother rubbed it in my face that he got a brand new pair of PF Flyers after Sandlot came out. Every day, I would stuff the toe of the shoes with tissue paper, adding a little more each day till he thought he outgrew them. Got slightly worn PF Flyers after about a month. My roommate and her so loved doing elaborate jigsaw puzzles. After I found out she cancelled our lease, leaving me 1 week to find a new place to live, I threw away one piece of 2 different puzzles they were working on. Before you ask, she was able to do this because I was 17 and not able to legally sign a lease. Edit. I'm a she. Dad was on a boat. Mom was IDK where that crazy girl was at. Everything turned out cool. I'm married and am a mom to an awesome little girl. I don't know why the adults in my life let things go down like that. Maybe cause we live in a certain southern state that rhymes with Malabama. Edit. Stupid phone. Later, not as sophisticated as most, but I started in a new job 2 years ago and hated a guy that kept joking about me. So I got his phone number and announced his PS4 for sale for like $50. Same day during lunch he was already nuts because of the calls. OFC he found a way to remove it. but it was nice to watch. I used to deliver pizza for Domino's. It was my last shift and there was this house that was always rude. I called to ask what the house looked like, and they said I gave you the address and hung up. Never tipped. etc. I got to their house and they gave me a check for 1 cent less than what the total was. I said I'm going to need the extra penny. They grumbled off and took their time hoping I would give up, but I just sat there holding the pizza. They finally came back all pissed off and gave me the penny. Note that they had no intention of tipping. They gave me the penny and I chucked it out into the street and left. They saw me do it. It was satisfying. In grade school, I kept a bag of chips in the same pocket every day of my backpack. This kid I knew would punch that pocket any chance he could for 5 days in a row. One day I replaced the chips with a bag of sewing pins. He never did it again. Sweet justice. You young'uns here might not believe it, but back in the early 90s, supermarket cashiers had to type every price in by hand. I was at a Vons in San Diego, walking toward the only open check stand with a single bottle of soda in my hand. Suddenly this hotty-totty lady with a cart, stacked to the top, flew out of one of the aisles like a freight train, and cut me off. "I'm in a hurry," she said. Then looked away, like she was annoyed that I'd been born. I looked at the cashier. He rolled his eyes, and got to work. 5 minutes later she's walking out the door and it's my turn. "You're good," says the cashier. "I put your soda on her tag." Damn. That felt good. When me and my ex-fiancée were having a bunch of arguments after we broke up, I got tired of her constantly texting me about nonsense, so I called insert phone carrier to have them cut off service to her phone that I paid for in the middle of an argument. A girl on my softball team bullied me and spread rumors about me to the team and coaches, and we were competing for the same position. She was in my geometry class and tried to buddy up to me because I was good at geometry, and she wasn't. So for a while I let her copy my homework. Then one day I gave her all the wrong answers and turned in the right answers for myself. My sister said some pretty mean things to me in front of my friends when I was younger, so I put a slice of bologna in her Walkman CD player. I got the idea from Corey in the show That's So Raven. When I was in 7th grade, the startup my dad was a part of was failing miserably in no small part due to a crazy CEO. While at his house, my dad observed the CEO's toddler daughter picking up a piece of dog crap and licking it. He picked her up and told her to give her dad a kiss. When I was a kid, I attempted to call my aunt. For whatever reason I accidentally dialed a 6 instead of a 3 and this man cursed me out for being a telemarketer. I was so stunned I didn't even hang up initially. My petty revenge was giving the number to all my friends, and for about 2 weeks we called him every day at all hours. Early in a game of Civ, Alexander stole Petra from me at the last second. So I built a special city in the frozen wastes, blocked it in with my own cities, gifted it to him, then burned the rest of his empire to the ground. It took about 5 hours. I like to think he learned his lesson. But that forward settling duck still looks as smug as ever. My wife used to keep these little Godiva chocolates that she likes in her desk at work, but started noticing some of them missing, and figured it must be someone from the overpass cleaning staff taking them. Fed up with losing her not inexpensive treats, she decided to get revenge on the choco thief in question by replacing the good chocolate with little squares of chocolate laxatives that looked just like real candies. And the next morning she saw several of the laxatives gone. And then from that day forward, she was never missing another one of her good chocolates ever again. My sister and I once applied for a summer job. I was in charge dropping the applications off to the company one day. I got there after a 40-minute commute. It was closed, so I just drove back home. My sister was mad at me for not dropping them off regardless of the circumstances. She told me she was going to go there herself and drop her application and not mine, since I didn't do it right the first time. My parents found out about this and made her drive a second trip to drop off my application as well, since she was being petty and wouldn't take it the first time. There was this kid, about 15, who cut in line in front of me at the supermarket. When he wasn't watching, I broke his chocolate bar while still inside the wrapper. Later I saw him cycling by, opening his bar, and half of it fell out. He got pissy and I chuckled. Saw a lady with her purse on top of her car at a stop sign. Rolled down my window to tell her. She interrupted me by saying, "Leave me alone. I can play my music as loud as I want." Even with my window down I couldn't hear her music. I still periodically look up my ex's post history and downvote all of his recent comments. This guy who had ex with his high school bully's mom. I had a rival in high school because we got almost the same marks in everything. So I would sabotage him in harmless ways whenever I could. My most frequent one was to empty out the contents of his pencil case, then turn the pencil case inside out before refilling the pencil case with its contents and carefully zipping it closed with the pull tab on the inside. He still doesn't know it was me doing it because it would happen while he was in the bathroom and not at his desk. I used to turn my friend's cigarettes upside down in the pack. It worked because he would just put the pack to his mouth and pull a cigarette out with his lips and then light it straight away. So he would end up lighting the filter on his cigarette, coughing wildly, and then tell me to go duck myself. Sometimes he would make the mistake multiple times in one night. My neighbor's dog craps in our yard all of the time. It wouldn't be a big deal, except he never cleans up after her. I finally had enough. So I decided to go with a classic. I put a flaming bag of his dog's crap on his porch, rang the bell, and hid in the bushes. When he answered the door, I finally got my revenge by having an affair with his wife for the last 3.5 years.